Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Sapphire Boone, the owner of Advanced Social Work Solutions. So, normally I'm here to give you tips, to go over questions, to break down strategy. But today, I just want to come from a more personal perspective. So, my company really focuses on helping social workers advance their career, preparing for the licensure, the national boards. But today I want to talk a little bit about my little bundle of joy. So when I first, started my journey, like everyone, I was excited to be a mom. I was excited to get pregnant. I've been wanting children from a little girl, dreaming of being a mom. I've been, saying over the years that I want 5 kids, five natural, three adopted, just being really excited to be a mom because I have a little sister. My sister is 11 years younger than me. So I literally was like a little mommy, taking care of her when she was smaller. So I was just really excited. Everyone told me that I was going to love pregnancy. Girl, you're gonna love it. I love being pregnant. I miss being pregnant. So I had like a positive view. I knew that there were some negatives, like nausea and not feeling well at first, but I was pretty excited. My husband and I, we got married in 2017 in Jamaica. It was the best experience. If you're thinking about doing a destination wedding, I have so many, advice for you. Um, so we got married, and like all men, but I won't say all, most men, he wanted to have a baby right away. And for me, it was scary. Even though I want to be a mom, being pregnant and the delivery, of course, is the most scariest. And really, until this day, I have never seen a vaginal delivery, like, how you watch the birth um, videos on YouTube and stuff. I've never watched them. I'm terrified. They asked me in the hospital, "Do you want to watch? Do you want a mirror?" A mirror? No, I don't. No, I don't want that. But that was just me. I just kind of, grossed out by the whole thing. So we got married in 2017. He wanted to have a honeymoon baby. So, we were trying. And when I say trying, I mean, not preventing it. And so we did that for in 2017 until 2020. And we decided that we're going to have to go to the fertility clinic. So that is also a touchy subject for many. A lot of people either struggle with fertility issues or just don't know why they're not getting pregnant. Like all of my friends that got pregnant, they told me to do like the different ovulation kits. Girl, I did this for a month and we got pregnant. So we tried that for about 2 to 3 months, the ovulation kit, tracking everything and doing that whole thing. So when we didn't get pregnant, I'm like, okay, well, this is what everyone says I'm supposed to be doing. And then people are like, well, don't stress out. Okay, how do you do that? Right? How do you not stress out about getting pregnant? I mean, it's very stressful. So we ended up going to a fertility clinic. And because I'm like I like to prepare. I love the idea of a fertility clinic. Some people, they don't want to go because they feel like that's a failure or that you're, just not good enough. And that's why you have to go to a fertility clinic. But let me tell you, there's so many issues with the women's body. There could be issues with the man as well. And getting help, there's no shame in it. So we got help. We did the IUI process. That's intrauterine insemination. Similar to turkey basting, but more medical, more medical and professional. So we did that and we had success on the first try. During that process, they do a lot of tests and everything. So everything came out good. So it wasn't like we had fertility issues because of a certain reason, but it was just, we just weren't getting pregnant. So we just need a little help. And in the process, they check for fibroids. So I had to tell you the story, right? So they checked for fibroids and she's like, "Oh yeah, you have 9 fibroids." And I'm like, "What?" I was literally about to cry. The young physician's assistant that was doing the procedure, it was the saline, I think it was the saline ultrasound. Yeah, saline ultrasound where they run the saline just to make sure everything's flowing well. And she was just letting me know I had fibroids. So for me, I equate fibroids with fertility issues. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to get pregnant because I have fibroids. I was really, really literally about to cry. And the tech that was there, she was African American. She's an African American woman, and she calmed me down because sometimes, the doctors can be very straight and to the point, and they just say things just so nonchalantly, like it's supposed to be normal. And I don't know if that's normal or not. So she just reassured me and she said, you know what? I have fibroids too. You're going to be okay. And luckily, the fibroids were not penetrating the uterus. I did have, I think, one that was, but it was very small, and it was not, the fibroids were not in the place where the baby would grow. But it's something to note, right? So I had to get an MRI just to make sure and track my fibroids, just to make sure that in the future, if I had more, if they grow, we can know if it's a problem or not. So that all was frightening. So we got pregnant. And the way that the procedure goes, you go in for the procedure. You might have seen it on Jane the Virgin. It's kind of like that. And then 2 weeks later, they give you the test. So the day before my appointment to go get my blood work and everything, I took a pregnancy test because I wanted to cheat a little bit, just in case it wasn't successful. I understood it might be rounds of the IUI that I needed. Okay, so we took the test. I took it while my husband was not home, peed on the little stick, it's not even a stick, it is a stick, but it's not like a fancy one. It's not a plastic stick, it's like the little thing you pee, you just dip it. Yeah, the strips. The strips you dip it in the pee. And it was positive. So I was freaking out. I called my husband. He wasn't trying to pick up the phone. I had to harass him. He picked up the phone. I did tell him over the phone because that's what we said. We had a promise that whenever I found out that I would tell him right away, that I wouldn't wait and do a gift. He was like, I don't want a reveal. I want you to just tell me. So we're so excited. But I was just so frightened because I know of miscarriage within the first 12 weeks. So that's something I knew about, something like everybody knows about. So I was excited, but I wasn't convinced. Excited, but I wasn't convinced. And I wasn't going to be convinced until I got my third blood test back, where my HCG levels were, doubling every, however so often they're supposed to double, right? So I was getting the blood test every week or not every week, every couple of days to see if it was viable. So I was like, okay, great. So 11 weeks comes around. My husband cannot wait to do the announcement. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, no, we have to wait 12 weeks. That's what they told me, right? 12 weeks, higher rate for miscarry. After that, you should be good. Okay, great. So we announced it at 11 weeks, because we're so excited. So then I go for my 18-week appointment. So an anatomy scan you can have an anatomy scan anywhere from 18 weeks to 22 weeks. So I had mine at 18, and I had it at GBMC. And so I was, a little a little sad because all my appointments, my husband can't come because of COVID. So I called them and I asked them, can my husband come to the scan? Normally they say no. I was expecting a no. But for the anatomy scan, since it's so big, they allowed him to come. So I told my husband, you have to come, babe. He's a teacher. You have to come. And he said, no, babe, I have to work. And I was so devastated. I literally was going to reschedule. I said, babe, I can reschedule the appointment so that you can come with me. And he was like, no, I think you should just go because even if you reschedule it, I still have to work. So just go. I was so pissed at him. I was pissed. I was mad. So we go in, I'm nervous. He's on the phone with me. I FaceTime him. They're telling me everything is good. The only thing, he was a little stubborn. So we couldn't get some of the brain shots. So then she says, well, let me check your cervix. And so she's doing the abdominal ultrasound. And she said, I can't see what I need to see. So let's do a transvaginal ultrasound, if that's okay. And I was used to them because when you go to the fertility clinic, you know about your pregnancy so early, like literally 2 weeks after the procedure, we knew that we were pregnant. So it's so early, and that's what I had been getting already. So I was used to it. So she did the transvaginal ultrasound, and then she, paused and was like, okay, I need the doctor to come in. Your cervix is a little shorter than I would like to see. This is the ultrasound tech. So let me call your doctor in. So then the doctor comes in and she says, well, you're going to have to get a stitch. Your cervix is opening and you're going to have to get a stitch. My doctor is very nonchalant. I love her too. She's really cool. Very nonchalant. You're going to have to get the stitch. Okay. So she was like, you have to go straight to labor and delivery. Don't make any stops. Take your car from where you're parked and park in the garage close to labor and delivery and walk to the unit. I was freaking out. I was calling my best friend. I'm like, what is going on? She has 4 kids. I'm like, maybe she knows what's going on. I was calling. I was scared. I was scared when you hear that your cervix is opening. I don't know that much about anatomy. I'm just going to be very clear about this. We go through the class in high school, but I don't really know that much about my own body. I'm like, I know the cervix has something to do with the baby, but I'm not really sure what this means, right? So I call my husband. I'm like, babe, I'm getting admitted into labor and delivery. He's like, what is going on? So we're very confused. It happens very fast. So we go to labor and delivery, and they basically are saying, yeah, you're probably just going to get a stitch. Like, this is something that happens every day. I'm like, okay. They put me in the upside down position to make sure that the baby doesn't come out. So I'm like, okay. So they put me, it's a name, and I know the name, but I'm going to literally butcher the name of the position of my bed. But it was on Grey's Anatomy. And literally all my information is coming from Grey's Anatomy. So I remember in Grey's Anatomy, when one of the doctors, I forget her name right now, of course, but one of the doctors had to be in this position while she was pregnant because, she didn't want the baby to come out. So I'm like, okay, they're going to stitch me up. Okay, this is weird. So then my doctor comes in, the one that's going to place it's called a cervical cerclage. And she says, you have, these options. So I'm thinking, because, I'm a professional, right? And I see Grey's Anatomy. So I'm thinking, okay, the ultrasound was preliminary. Now they're going to do more tests. So they don't do anything. They literally say, okay, these are our 3 options. We can 1, do nothing. We can 2, do an amniocentesis to see if there's an infection in there, and that's why the cervix is opening. Or we can 3, do the cerclage. So we can do an amniocentesis and the cerclage, or if the amniocentesis comes back positive, then we wouldn't need to do a cerclage, because if you have an infection, the baby won't survive. What? So now we're freaking out. We're like, the baby is not going to survive. So I've always been told, and always, read some books, not a lot, that amniocentesis is very invasive. It can harm the baby. So I was like, well, no matter what, let's just do the cerclage, because even if I don't really want to know if I have an infection, if my baby is, not going to survive right now. Like, let's just do the cerclage, right? So literally within an hour, I'm in the operating room. I'm getting a spinal block, which is very interesting. It's not an epidural, but it's very similar to an epidural. To me, it was very much longer. It was a longer process. It didn't hurt, but it was definitely uncomfortable. And let me tell you about these nurses that were in my care for labor and delivery. The best. They were the best nurses. Very, very calming and encouraging. So I had my nurse. She was very encouraging to me during this procedure. And so you're awake. You're in the hoisters. Your legs are spread open in the hoisters, whatever. So my doctor is like, she don't really have any like, she doesn't sprinkle anything with sugar. It's like really raw, like, and to the point. She's very direct. She's a sweetheart though, but very direct. So she's like, oh, wow. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. So it turns out I was 2 centimeters dilated, and my membrane, which is the sac that is around the baby, was bulging. So basically, she could see my sac. Like, that's what happens when you're about to deliver. So she pushes it back up so that she can close it and stitch it. And I have a McDonald's stitch. And for those that have a cerclage, you know what type of stitch you got, right? So I got a McDonald's stitch, which is a common stitch for a emergent situation. So then I find out from just reading my chart, they kept me overnight just to make sure I was, okay, because I had like the worst case scenario. She kept me overnight. And when she told my husband that it was the worst case scenario, of course he's like devastated because he's thinking like, I'm in a bad situation, the baby's in the bad situation. But actually, the Lord and his timing was perfect. I know not everybody believes in God and Jesus, but I do. And this is my birth story. So I'm going to let you know that everything is about timing, that I listened to my husband. I didn't reschedule, because had I rescheduled and came even weeks later, we don't know what the outcome would be. Right. And so I just really am blessed, and count it as a blessing that we caught it in time. I'm so grateful to the staff at GBMC because they were excellent. Like, I've seen other stories where the procedure is delayed maybe a week or two. No, they did the same day, made sure they caught everything. My OB was like, she's real nonchalant still, but she's like, wow, you know, we really caught this. And I was like, when I think about it still, it's like, wow, brings tears to my eyes, right? Because I just see so many women that suffer with incompetent cervix. So when I looked on my record, I saw that they used the word incompetent cervix. What is that? I've never heard of this. So thankful there's a Facebook called Incompetent Cervix. And so I joined that Facebook because I had no idea what had just gone on, right? Because of the Facebook group, I was able to actually learn about what stitch I got and everything. So now that I have my emergent cerclage, I'm now placed on modified bed rest. So 80% of the time, I need to be laying flat in the bed. And 20% of the time, I can go to use the bathroom. This is the only thing I can do with my 20%. Use the bathroom, take a shower, and that's pretty much it. I didn't go down the steps. I didn't do any of that. And there is some research that goes against bed rest, but she says, she really feels like it helps her clients. So she always recommends bed rest. So we did bed rest. So this means that my husband is now in charge of everything, right? With no help from me. I am no help at this point. I literally, if I had a bell, I would be ringing it, telling him all the things that I need. But my husband was great. Bed rest was a blessing, and it sometimes felt like a curse, right? Because, I'm watching a lot of Netflix. Thankfully, I was on bed rest at home, right? Because it could have been the hospital. So it could have been worse. And this time with the Lord and with my affirmations, I had a lot of affirmations, which was mainly scripture. And I had to have a routine. I had to have a routine. I had to wake up with a purpose. I had to journal. I had to read scripture, because if I just went throughout the day just watching TV without giving me that inspiration, then I felt very depressed. I had a lot of depressing moments, but I had some pregnancy affirmations that I would play while I was in the shower. Her name is Dr. Nicole Rankins. She has a birth preparation class, and a part of that class, online class, you can add on the pregnancy affirmations. The best pregnancy affirmations ever. Literally would make me cry just because of thinking about the bond I have with my baby, right? And so I did that. And also taking a shower for me was very calming, even though my husband was a little bit of a drill sergeant, and I was only allowed 5-minute showers. Sometimes I would wait until he left and took 10-minute showers. Yes, highlights of the day. Okay. So it was hard. It was very hard. It was hard on all of us because you think that when you get pregnant, that you don't, you have all this time to prepare. You don't think you're going to be on bed rest and now everything basically speeds up. And the other thing I wanted to say, just really quickly, about all of the moms that have incompetent cervix and they don't catch it in time, um, that they have a second trimester loss. What is that? I mean, I knew some people had like, they would have stillborns, but that's like in the third trimester. I had no idea about the second trimester losses. So if you've had a second trimester loss, if you've had a first trimester loss, any loss is a loss. But to have to deliver a seemingly could have been healthy baby if the baby had just stayed in a little longer, delivering a baby that is alive and maybe only survives for a couple of hours, that is really hard. And that's something that I literally pray about all the time, and that I'm here for you. You know, I'm encouraging you. And although I did not experience that, I can only but imagine what that feels like. And even if you've just had any type of loss during this process, you, I hope that you find peace in God's comfort. You might not get your answers as to why. We always want to know why something happens. I know I do. And sometimes you just don't know why. But so I'm on bed rest. So I'm on bed rest. And each milestone is important. So I want to share some photos with you. So I made it to 24 weeks. This is my 24-week picture. I also was doing a lot of online shopping, as you can see, because I have a t-shirt for everything. So I was just so excited that I was still able to have baby be, healthy. And I was going to weekly appointments. I had weekly appointments with my MFM, which is maternal fetal medicine doctor. It's a lot of acronyms. So I was having weekly checks, and I was having weekly cervical checks with a transvaginal ultrasound every week. She did not recommend progesterone. I know a lot of people take progesterone either orally or the shot or even vaginally. So she suggested not to take it vaginally because of the risk of infection. But I did ask about like shots or orally. But for baby number 2, I'm definitely going to be asking about that. And then I went to my 28-week appointments, and everything was great. So here is me at 28 weeks. Let me share it. Here's me at 28 weeks. I was waiting for my stomach to pop. It did not happen. Okay. It's very small, but I'm still pregnant, but it's very small. So 28 weeks is when I might have took it a little too far, right? Because, I asked the doctor, is it okay for me to go down the steps? It was a lot on my husband, having to have like a microwave up here, microwave my own food. He went back to work. So my church family was great. They were sending meals for every week for us, which was really great. But it was still a lot on my husband. So I asked her, can I go down the steps? And she said, okay, we're at the 28-week mark. This is a great success for incompetent cervix, because the stitch can hold for a long time, but typically for an emergent stitch, what I've read anyways, is that it can last, for a temporary time. It might not be as long as we need it to last. So really at any moment, I could give birth. And at every transvaginal cervical check, they also check the baby. He was head down since 18 weeks. Okay. He was ready to come out. and he was like wild in there. Like when he would move around at certain times, it was just like, what is going on in there? It felt like just he was just punching me to death. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. But once he was born, I found out exactly what was going on. He is a wiggle worm. So that's what he was doing in there. And he hates being confined. So he didn't like being in the womb. He just didn't like it. He wanted to get out. He like, I'm ready to come out. So at 28 weeks, she told me that I could go to 60-40. 60%, I still had to lay down flat in the bed, but 40%, I could be up. And I definitely felt the difference from being lying down flat to standing up. The gravity, you can feel the gravity pull that baby, right? So, you can feel that. So I still tried to at least sit up because laying down, even in different positions, I laid on my side, I laid on my stomach a lot too. It's not recommended, but I laid on my stomach. I laid different ways. I didn't just lay flat on my back because that was annoying. So I laid different ways, side, stomach. Laying flat was the point, but not being able to sit up. I did sit up when I ate because that's crazy. How do you lay down and eat? So I did sit up while I ate, but being able to sit up more. So I sat up more after 28 weeks. I did go down the steps, and I kind of went back to like what they call like a modified bed rest, or like a pelvic rest more, where it's just making sure I don't lift anything. I was trying to stay off my feet as much as possible, but I missed being outside. It was a pandemic, but I wanted to go somewhere. So we would go every week, even before the 28 weeks, every week we would go get ice cream on Fridays. I would just be, sitting up, but I would put my feet up in the car. And that was my sense of normalcy because my doctor also said, you want a sense of normalcy. I go to the doctor every week. I have to get in the car for that. So I said, well, what's one more trip to the ice cream man? So we were doing that. So at 32 weeks, so at 28 weeks, she discharged me. She really wanted to discharge me at 24 weeks, but I convinced her, like, no, I need you to see me one more time. And when I say she, I mean my MFM, my high risk doctor. She was going to discharge me at 24 weeks, but I convinced her to give me another scan at 28 weeks. And that's when she gave me the, yellow light, not green. I took it as green, but it was yellow. And so I no longer had to see her. I was just seeing my regular OB. And throughout this whole process, I was still seeing my regular OB, but I had a lot of appointments. So she discharged me at 28 weeks. And then at 32 weeks, I was at a worship service outside. I know. You're saying to yourself, why would you do that? You're supposed to be in the house. You're supposed to be in the bed, but I had to get out. So this is literally my last pregnant photo that I have, actually. This is my last pregnant photo at 32 weeks. We were outside at the worship service. I was sitting down the whole time, had my feet propped up. In the heat, probably wasn't the smartest idea, but I wanted some fellowship. So we did that. Then we go to Target and I'm looking for the scooter. So they had no scooter. So instead of going back to the car, I elected to walk around Target. While I'm walking around Target, while we're going back to the car, after walking around Target for about 15 minutes, I laugh and what I thought was pee. Laugh, pee. Like, babe, I think I need some, panty liners because, I heard in pregnancy that you can start peeing on yourself, randomly. So that's what I thought it was. So we were headed to a church member's house. So we went to the house, we ate, it was great. I was relaxing on the recliner. I still was kind of leaking. So then I was like, well, babe, now I'm leaking without laughing. Right. So, I'm using, my resources and, making sure I don't leak anywhere. So then, I'm on the couch. I took a nap. I woke up. I'm like, okay, let me go check this situation out. So for the whole maybe 3 hours that we're at this church member's house, I'm leaking. So I finally said, Okay, this is not pee because um it was happening without like with just me sitting, right? So it's not pee, like I thought it was. So I called the doctor. The doctor's like, yes, please come in. Now we're in Philly. I forgot to add that. We're in Philly. So I live in Baltimore. So we, the doctor on call at the emergency, well, at labor and delivery was basically like, okay, you need to come in so we can make sure that it's not your water leaking. So, I tell my husband, he tries not to panic too bad, but maybe a little bit, and let me back up. So this is June 20th. What I forgot to mention is that on June 3rd, I lost my father-in-law. And when I say that Pop Pop is like the best father-in-law, he's of course, my only father-in-law, but he's the best father-in-law. Um, Very, very supportive throughout this whole time. He was purchasing things for the baby. He had a car seat in the back seat for the baby. It wasn't an infant car seat, but that's okay. He was ready. He was ready to get his grandson. He told us that he wanted to get, his grandson as much as possible. So let me share a photo of when he was at our gender reveal. So here's a picture of Pop, me and my husband. As you can see, the Boone genes are very, very strong. And he didn't even feel good on this day. He was suffering from cancer. He had been in remission and it came back. So he wasn't even feeling good that day that we had our gender reveal, but he was just so excited that he came and celebrated with us. So this is a heavy hit, right? To lose somebody that you're so close to, and to lose someone my husband was so close to. So literally, he kept saying to us, "I wish and I hope I meet my grandson." And for me and my husband, we're like, "Pop, you're gonna meet him." We knew the cancer was back, but because it didn't present as aggressively, or at least we didn't know it was aggressive. So we were just like, Pop, you're gonna fight it. It's only a small area. You're gonna be fine. Um, but your parents don't tell you everything. They don't want you to worry, so they don't tell you everything. So when he passed away, it was sudden. Even though we knew he was suffering with an illness, it was still sudden because there was no um progression to it, if you will. Like it was kind of like the norm now. Like this is he's living with it, it's in remission, it came back, but it's just small, it's gonna be okay. So that was heavy. um Probably still haven't really processed it, to be honest, because it just was a whirlwind of events. So he passed away. The burial funeral process is very stressful. We had the funeral June 17th. On June 20th, my water was leaking. It didn't fully break, but it was leaking. So we were in Philly. We rushed to the hospital in Maryland, right? Because I did think about stopping in Philly because I thought, okay, this is emergent. But I also thought, well, I've been leaking for 3 hours. And I do know from being on so many Facebook groups, because that's who I am. I'm a researcher and I like information. I like facts and information. It helps me calm down. So, because I was on so many Facebook groups, I knew that there were two ways that your water could break. It could break all at once, gush, like you see in the movies, or it could be a slow leak that keeps leaking for several days, right? So that's how I knew, okay, let me just go to my hospital. So we drove, took us about an hour and a half to get back. Um, and, they let me know that I'm 5 centimeters dilated. What? And that my water, that it is amniotic fluid, that it is leaking. They also let me know that I cannot leave the hospital, that I'm going to be in the hospital until I deliver. What? This is crazy. So for me, I stayed calm. because I knew that didn't mean I was delivering today, but it did mean, well, that day, but it did mean that I was delivering soon after. I was 32 weeks, and my high risk doctor and we discussed that the goal was actually 32. Of course, the goal is always to make it to 36 or 37 weeks when they take the stitch out. And if your stitch is able to make it that long, then you can have whatever type of pregnancy, whatever type of delivery you want, and you can go the full 40 weeks with having an incompetent cervix. But she said, worst case scenario, 32 weeks is a great gestation. So I knew that there would be maybe some NICU time. And so so we get to the hospital, we're admitted to the hospital. We have no hospital bag. Literally that week, I was going to pack my hospital bag. Our baby shower canceled. It was that Saturday. I went in Sunday. It was going to be that Saturday, a following Saturday. So I had to cancel everything. Okay. Maternity photo shoot, everything. So I get in there, they give me magnesium and they give me 2 steroid shots over the next couple of days. But as the steroid shots are spaced out, they help babies' lungs mature. You have to be on magnesium the whole time and you cannot eat anything. You're on a liquid diet. What? I'm cool with being in the hospital. I'm cool. The magnesium was double hockey sticks. Okay. It was really bad. It was really bad. And I found out it was bad because I was getting too much. So they give you the blood test every so often, I think every day, to check your levels, and my levels were too high. So by the time they figured out my levels were too high and they lowered the dosage and they lowered it again because it was still too high, it was much better. But being on magnesium, so the first like 40 minutes, it's a really, really high dosage and you feel like you're on fire, like literally a fire inside of your body. So, they're giving me ice packs to put on my neck and stuff like that. But even after that, I just fell out of it. I fell out of it. I had to have a catheter in because I couldn't even feel the urge to pee because it's the magnesium. And I'm also on antibiotics, right? Because when your water leaks, there's a risk of infection, right? They're pumping me full of antibiotics, magnesium, steroids, whatever. So my husband, again, is on full duty. So he's bringing me clothes. Every day he's visiting me at the hospital. He's bringing me lunch or dinner. We have, issues because, I'm a little diva. So I'm like wanting certain things to be a certain way and everything is just not going my way. I have to use a bedpan. That's fun. But again, I'm trying to stay positive because that's who I am. I'm positive because we have to drown out the negative. We can be negative, but let's be positive. So I'm watching Grey's Anatomy this whole time. I started at season 1 while I was on bed rest. So now I'm in a hospital still watching Grey's Anatomy. I had great nurses. I had okay nurses, but mostly great nurses. So the plan is to take the baby out on July 5th. I'm like, okay, they're giving me different ultrasounds, monitoring the baby's heart rate. Okay, everything's good. So on June 30th, June 30th, I have a visitor. We're playing Uno. I start to get a rash. So I start to get a rash, I think maybe on the 29th, but it was local and we weren't really sure. I have sensitive skin, so I didn't think much of it. It started to become all over my body, but didn't itch. So, they were asking me, what do they think it is? They thought it was the sheets, but I had already been in the hospital for a whole week plus. So I'm like, it couldn't be the sheets. So we just don't know what it is. So as the days progress, it's getting worse and worse and worse. So and it doesn't really itch at this point. So they give me Benadryl because I'm like, okay, let's take the Benadryl. Maybe it'll subside. It does itch a little bit, but it's not bad. So I took the Benadryl on the 30th, playing Uno. So my visitor leaves. And when she leaves, the nurse comes in and I'm like, hey, I don't feel the baby move. So before the visitor left, I was like trying to get baby to move. Really easy because my baby is wiggly and squirmy and he's a mover. So even if he doesn't move, he might be asleep. If I put a little pressure on my belly, wiggle it, If I move to my side, move back and forth to my side, if I drink cold water, especially if I drink something cold or something sweet, he perks right up. This did not happen. So they put me on the monitor. They also give me an NST. I don't know what it stands for, but basically it's an ultrasound. It's like a video ultrasound that looks for movement and also breathing. So I had one earlier, maybe a couple of days before, maybe earlier, maybe the week before I had one. And, the baby was breathing. So, just for your information, babies don't have to breathe because they're in water. They're in the fluid. So they don't breathe in there. But they practice breathing and they start to practice breathing when it's, closer to delivery. So my baby was breathing, he was moving in the ultrasound before. But when they did this NST, he scored a 4 out of 8 because in the 30 minutes he did not move and he did not breathe. Okay. So I called my husband because at this point, the nurse and the doctor are saying, we're just going to induce you now. I was supposed to be induced that Monday, July 5th. It's a Wednesday. They're like, okay, we're just going to induce you now. I called my husband and I do tell him that the baby's not breathing or moving. Now, even though that is true, I didn't really know. I don't know how to break stuff to my husband because I am concerned about him taking it to the extreme and like, he's a little drama, he's very animated. Let's say that he's very animated. So I didn't want to scare him. And of course, saying that the baby's not breathing or moving scared him because he's not there hearing what the nurse is saying, hearing what, the PA is saying. So he, is freaking out. So he leaves the house, leaves the door wide open. And then, so I have to call him back with the nurse on the phone so she can explain it better. Because at this point, I realized I did something bad. I told him the wrong thing. I didn't know how to explain it to him. So she explained it. He's still panicking, comes to the hospital. Everybody's calm. Nurse is calm. Nurse is like, everything's fine. The baby's not coming anytime soon. If you want to go get something to eat. So he calms down, gets something to eat, which irritates me. So he gets something to eat. And he, they put me on Pitocin. Well, first they take my stitch out. So they take my stitch out. Immediately after they take my stitch out, I'm now 7 centimeters. So remember, a week ago I was 5, now I'm 7. So then I'm 7 centimeters. They put me on Pitocin. I automatically want the epidural. Now I have been following several different all natural, have a natural birth people, Dr. Nicole Rankins. And then I also do the Mama Natural series and have that information too. So I'm like, okay, at this point, I asked the nurse, well, can I get up? Because mind you, I've been on bed rest this whole time. Well, now I'm in labor, so I should be able to get up and, maybe bounce on a ball, maybe get in the shower. So I'm kind of excited, that I get to get out the bed. So she says, no, you can't get out the bed. What? I can't get out the bed. So I'm stuck in the bed. So at this point, I'm like, why have a non-medical birth or unmedicated birth when I can't even get out the bed? So all of these like techniques that you're supposed to do to help with the pain, I can't even do them. So let me order that epidural. At this point, I wasn't scared of the epidural because I had the spinal block, remember, for my cerclage. So I was fine with it. Just give me the epidural. At this point, I didn't even ask for, how you have a birth plan. At this point, I don't even have a birth plan. I don't even tell them, I want delayed clamping. I want, the little stuff on the eyes, I don't even tell them what I want. At this point, I'm just like, I'm scared that my baby's not going to make it. Please just do whatever you need to do at this point. So they give me Pitocin at 10:30 and I had the baby at 3:04. So very short labor, and I pushed for about 15 minutes. Very, very short, very short delivery, really. And because the epidural is working and working very good, I was calm. I was happy. My husband will give you a version of the story where he, says in like a demonic voice, screaming epidural or whatever, that I did that. But, I didn't do that. I was calm. And once I got the epidural, it was calm. And so we had the baby, but I didn't have the emotional reaction that I thought I was supposed to have. Same thing like when I got engaged, I was like waiting for the tears to come out, but they didn't come out. It was kind of like that. So they placed the baby on my chest for like a couple seconds, right? I see the baby, I'm excited. They put the baby in the little warmer thing. My husband follows the baby. So I'm very concerned about my lady parts. I want to know, are they intact? Are they wide open? How does it look down there? So I am a little bit more concerned about my lady parts than the baby, but that's only because I know that the baby is okay because he came out screaming and crying, which I also didn't think. I thought, you know how on the movies they have to like pop the baby or they got to suction the baby, to get the baby breathing and stuff, and then they cry. So that didn't happen. He cried as soon as he came out. So during my delivery, my husband, he was great the whole time. He did tell me that they at one point told me not to push because the cord was wrapped around his neck. Scary, very scary. So we're not really sure what the non-movement was about. It could have been the cord. Might have been the cord, that the cord was wrapped around. My baby is just always moving. So I find out, of course, later that I had a first-degree tear, and she's literally sewing me up for 20 minutes. So I'm thinking that I'm ripped from the rooter to the tutor at this point. I'm like, so scared. But for the most part, I still have the epidural, so I don't really feel anything. I'm still good. It's very surreal. It's very like an outer body moment. Again, I'm supposed to be having these emotions. I do not have any. I'm okay. They put the baby on my chest for 30 minutes. At this point, they had already explained to me and my husband the NICU process. They did explain it to me while I was on magnesium and pretty much drugged up. But I do remember, and they told me that because I was this amount of time with my water leaking, that he most likely was going to go to the NICU. They go automatically before 34 weeks. On July 1st is when he was born, and I was exactly 34 weeks. So he technically, if everything was fine, he wouldn't have to go, but he was a risk factor because of my water breaking. So they sent him to the NICU. So this was very traumatizing. So after he's taken to the NICU, I asked after 30 minutes of him being on my chest, which was really good, I asked the nurse, let's start pumping because I talked to a lactation consultant and she told me to start pumping as soon as the baby is born and to get the hospital grade pump and to pump every 2 to 3 hours for 20 minutes. So I was like, let's go. So the first pump is different than the second one I got, but it's still hospital grade. So she brings that in, she kind of knows what she's doing, but we kind of don't know what we're doing. And we didn't latch the baby in that 30 minutes. So now I'm headed to postpartum. So I'm in a postpartum unit. And I'm, just trying to get over the epidural. So they tell me and my husband, they said my husband can go up there to the NICU, but that she really suggested that I wait until the epidural wore off. So of course they want you to have that legendary first pee, before they like start moving you around. So I give it an hour and I try to get up. I'm like, okay, he's still up there. My husband's still up there. I'm like, okay, I want to go up there. So in the midst of this, they told me that my baby drank a bottle. He drank it so fervently. So that bothered me because I'm like, oh gosh, my baby's getting formula and I didn't even get to witness his first feed. Like, this is crazy. So, I'm still, okay, calm, okay, whatever. So I get up to go to the bathroom. So I call the nurse tech because, they tell me to call the nurse tech to help me go to the bathroom. So at this point, I can walk pretty good. Okay, can walk okay. I don't need to walk great because I got the wheelchair to go up to the NICU. So I'm like, okay, let me take some steps. I did take a little nap, like an hour. And then I woke up, I was like, okay, let me try. So she helps me to get to the bathroom. At this point, I'm taking my little shuffle steps, going slow. I pee, everything's good. I get up fast because I'm ready to see my baby. I get up fast and I pass out. Very short, but when I wake up, there's 5 nurses. So I was passed out for enough time for her to call for help and for them to come with a wheelchair. So I have never passed out in my life. So at this point, I'm terrified at what is going on with my body. So my husband comes down from the NICU, and I'm like, babe, I want to see my baby. But at this point, I have to stay in the bed and I have to wait until the epidural wears all the way off. So I'm crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't be with my baby. So I decide, and the nurses help me decide that I need to stay in bed and I need to eat something and build my strength. So I decided that I would see the baby that night, right? So I had my 3 a.m., got a half an hour with him. I literally didn't get to see him again until the nighttime because I just had to recover fully, eat a little something, get my strength up, So then I was going to the bathroom pretty good and I was, walking pretty good. So I got in a wheelchair, went up, got to see my baby. But in the meantime, I had to see my baby over FaceTime. So the emotions, they kicked in. So at the hospital, had a great lactation consultant. She was very thorough. My milk did not come in until July 3rd. So the day that we were discharged, my milk started to come in like droplets. Like I started to get moisture on my boobs. But remember, I still had a rash. So I had this rash, and now that I delivered, I'm able to get up. I'm free, and I'm able to take a shower unassisted for as long as I want to. I took my shower with my natural soap, the peppermint soap, on the rashes on my entire body. And guess what? My rash is now burning. So I woke up the next day and my rash is burning and itching profusely. Like to the point where I don't even want to go see my baby because I'm in pain. So finally, I get a PA that recognizes that this is not contact dermatitis. This is not from the sheets. They send some pictures. And literally, when I say head to toe, I mean head to toe, all over. And my skin is very sensitive and I react very big. So head to toe, they send the pictures to the dermatologist. And okay, I had a delayed reaction to the amoxicillin. They gave me amoxicillin and ampicillin. So all the cillins I'm now allergic to. So I find this out. So needless to say, I was in so much pain from the rash that July 1, I pumped every 2 hours. The hospital, showed me how to do it. Basically, they said as much as you can bear. So day 2, I gave up. I gave up on breastfeeding, on pumping, because I was like, I'm going through a lot. And my mental health is key. So yes, I want to breastfeed, but I cannot. So I take a night off of pumping. So then on July 3rd, I said, okay, I had a little sleep. I got a little better. Been seeing my baby. When I go see my baby, the lactation consultant helps me latch. So, he's latching okay, but she uses a nipple shield, shows me how to use it. So, the second I'm more active. So I'm going to the NICU more often. And then on the second, they tell us that night he's coming to our room. He's able to be discharged with us, and we're so excited. So our first night with our baby in the room is July 2nd. So he gets a bath, he gets a car seat test. Shout out to Whitney and Devin for buying the car seat for us because we didn't have one. And so, all of this is happening. He sleeps great. His cry is cute at this point. So, we're giving him formula every 3 hours. Well, not three. I just kept the 3-hour schedule that they had in the NICU. At this point, my husband is great. He is the comforter, because he's been so involved because he had, not that he wouldn't have been, but because he had to be. He was the only one available. He's very, very involved. When baby gets shots, when baby gets blood draws, when baby gets anything, he's right there comforting the baby. And let me show you a picture of my baby. Wait, wait, wait. So this is my Tinky Tink, as we call him. And yes, he does have red hair. Yo, cute. Let me show you. Here's my baby. When he was first born, he was born 4 pounds, 14 ounces. And in the NICU, the only problem he had was maintaining his temperature. He ate great. He was breathing fine, passing all the milestones. It was just his temperature. He would get a little cold. So once he was able to maintain it, they basically discharged him from the NICU. He was sent to our room, and it was fun. It was fun. I was tired though. Tired. Hospital food was pretty good, so that helps. And so we get discharged on July 3rd. Again, gave up on pumping, decided to pump. Before we get discharged, I'm able to literally get this much of milk, enough to pour into those little tube thingies. So I was like so excited, like, let's bring the milk. Um, the car seat, putting the car seat in the car was interesting because we didn't know what we were doing. Technically, the nurses are not supposed to help you. So that was fun. Had our first car ride home. We get home. Okay. So now I'm going to move to breastfeeding because that's what I think is something I wanted to talk about too. So all my friends breastfeed. So the normalization of it is very normal. All my friends breastfeed for extended periods of time. So I am determined to do this. My husband, every time I wanted to quit, he was like, no, babe, keep going, keep going, keep going. So I have a lactation consultant. I've been talking to her over email, and then we meet on July 11th. And so when we were discharged from the hospital, they made it very clear that I was supposed to give the baby formula. So we had like the ready to eat, the liquid formula. So we got that. They told me to supplement. I don't know what that means. So I'm giving the baby breast milk and I'm giving the baby formula. At this point, he's drinking like maybe 1 ounce, maybe an ounce and a half at the most at a time, right? So he's not drinking a lot. So, I'm actually freezing breast milk at this point because it's by July 11th, I had gotten up a little stash, but I still was scared to latch him. I tried a couple times, but I had no idea what I'm doing. And if anybody knows me, if I don't know what I'm doing, I don't like to do it. So I just was like, okay, the lactation consultant is going to come. I'll deal with it then. So I was just pumping, 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 pumping. I have the Spectra S1, which is the one that doesn't have to plug up to the wall. And so, I'm on level 3, because I'm like, this is what I'm on. So I'm just gonna keep it right here. So the lactation consultant comes and she literally pushes the button and she puts it up to level 5 and the milk is squirting out. I said, oh my gosh, all this time has been like trickling. So, but I'm thankful for the trickle. But once she did that, I had clogged ducts. She massaged that out, and then she put that thing on level 5, and it was squirting out, and I got so much milk. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what happens when you get a lactation consultant, because I had no idea what I was doing. She showed me a couple holes, bing, bang, boom. Okay, she's great. I'll put her information in there. Then we were having a home health nurse come out and to weigh the baby because he's premature. He's premature 6 weeks. He's doing great with weight gain though. And the lactation consultant told me that since he's back to his birth weight, because at this point we had the first appointment and he was already back to his birth weight, she was like, you can do breast milk only. What? The hospital told me I cannot. I have to use formula until he's due, which was August 12th. So this is, July 3rd. So I have to give him formula that whole time. She said, ask the doctor, but I'm pretty sure you don't have to. He's doing great. You need to give him breast milk all the time. So I go to the doctor and he's like, yeah, sure, you can give, sure. He's back to his birth weight. You can give only breast milk. So we've been exclusively feeding the breast milk since July 12th, which was his like 2-week appointment, and he's doing so well. Breastfeeding has been great. I want to say I've been like nursing much more. I still pump maybe once or twice a day, but I've been nursing much more. When I didn't nurse as much, I would pump more, but now I'm getting into the groove of it. He's a little older, he latches better. And so, I was feeding bottles at night, but now we just nurse. So overall, this whole process, motherhood is nothing like I expected it. I'm that first month was great. He slept all the time. So he wasn't a colicky baby. Um, he slept all the time. I said, this is easy. People said it was hard. They were wrong. Because you've been wrong about a lot of things. You said pregnancy was gonna be fun. It was not. So I was like, okay, they're wrong about this too. My baby's great. And he was. Then he started having growth spurts and cluster feeding and doing all those wonderful things. And so that's the exhaustion. That's something I don't think you can ever be prepared for. But literally getting no sleep from going to bed at 8 o'clock, like my whole, well, not my husband, but me and the dog. I have a dog named Max. I'm gonna show you Max too. We go to bed at 8 o'clock. Like when I say bed, I don't mean sleep, but I mean like lights out, tucked in. So I love sleep. I like getting to bed early. I like falling to sleep early. So this whole stand up all night and like doing something, not just being up, but like having to physically like care for a baby is a lot. But I can say that you do adjust. You were right that at 3 months it got a little better. He's just turned 3 months on October 1st. So it's getting much better. Having a loose routine. He's already in the crib because my husband said he got to go. Plus, he was outgrowing the bassinet, so he's in his crib. He's actually napping right now in his crib. um, he's doing great with naps. So he's doing great. He's having great progression. I don't know how much he weighs at this current moment, but 3 weeks ago he weighed about 12 pounds. So he should be probably about 14 by now. So he's doing really well. Motherhood is a lot. I didn't really struggle with finding myself because I felt like at 33, I'm now 34, I already knew who I was. I feel like, maybe if you have a baby a little earlier, you have to find yourself. But I already know who I am. So, he's doing great. I'm getting a lot of is he sleeping through the night? You get those questions. You question yourself as a mom a lot. I have to incorporate more self-care. Um, I haven't really done that fully, but showers again are a great break for me. I stay in the shower for a really long time. Um, so we're doing really good. I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. How you find time as a mom, especially as a mom of a baby toddler, to do anything is baffling. So I have a lot of help. My mother-in-law watches the baby. My mom watches the baby a lot. She'll come over. When my husband's home, I'm throwing the baby at him like literally like a football catch. Here you go. But I'm much more bonded. Again, I thought I was gonna be extra feely in the beginning because I've been wanting to be a mom this whole time, but I was not. I didn't really have a lot of emotions at first because I was trying to get over a rash. About the rash, it took me to get a steroid shot for it to finally clear up. Other than that, it was literally for the first, I don't think it cleared up for like 2 weeks. So for the first 2 weeks it was HE double hockey sticks, okay? And it was really bad. So going through that, me and my husband, we do fight sometimes. So getting better with communication about schedules, getting a schedule, getting a routine. So we do have a loose routine, a bedtime routine. I follow like the wake time. So I try to, not allow the naps to go beyond 2 hours, but sometimes I let him go to 3 because obviously he's tired. And then I try not to allow him to stay awake more than like an hour. And once I kind of did that and started having a routine, he wakes up, we do diaper change, we nurse. And then we do stimulation. So I'll either FaceTime my mom and we'll talk to him, we'll both be talking to him. We'll do playtime on the play gym. Um, so we'll do that for like 10, 15 minutes. And then literally he will show some sleepy cues like rubbing his eyes, yawning. And then literally sometimes we'll fall asleep on the mat. Great. About to fall asleep. So now he's a little older. So he whines to go to sleep. So before he would just knock out. Now he's like fighting it. So, that's fun. Sometimes he goes to sleep on his own. Sometimes I'm rocking him to sleep. Sometimes I nurse him to sleep. So it's very, sleep training is not really going on. It's very loose. It's a loose sleep train. Okay. Um, I'm already getting a lot of, you shouldn't do this. You should do this. You should do that. Don't hold the baby. The daycare's not going to hold the baby, blah, 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 blah. But what I've learned is that through different IG accounts and different things like that is that, and I'll share what IG accounts I'm following, is that the baby, and I learned from my doula. So my doula's name is Kiana, and she was great. Okay, when I say amazing, so we hired a postpartum doula. She's a nurse. She's a lactation consultant. She is a super woman. Okay. She's really good. So she was able to help with chores that were not getting done because we are new parents. And she was also helping with me get sleep. So I hired a doula. It's not a popular, opinion. Some people are like, you trust this lady, but she was actually our at-home nurse. And that's something that she had her own business in. So we were like, yes, we need you. We need more support. So we did that. So we had Kiana helping us. She was great. So just I learned, and I had to ask my friend Sharmika. I was like, is something wrong with me because I need a lot of breaks? Because I am low energy. And so that's why I like being in the bed watching TV all day. That I don't like expending energy is like exhausting to me. And so, you know, being able to accept the fact that I need help. I'm just a mom that needs help. Like some moms, they're super moms, they don't want anyone to hold the baby. I did not have that reaction. Here was my, I was just exhausted. I was like, here, I need help. Not here to anybody, but here, Sister Jacobs. Here, mom. Here, mother-in-law. Here, sister. Please take the, I was just desperate for help. Um, and that's okay. And I still need lots of breaks. So my parents are on their way right now because I need lots of breaks. That's what I need. And it's okay. I'm still a mom. But the connection has grown, and now you know, I'm protective of the baby. I want the baby to myself. I nurse with the baby. So that's a connection. So no, I don't want you to give the baby a bottle. I want to nurse the baby. Unless I want to go to sleep and then okay, give him one bottle. But don't, I wanna nurse him. I'll go out, but I'll go out while he's sleeping. So by the time I come back, he's still, sleep and ready to nurse. So that has been, a lot. And people will tell you, don't hold the baby. But my doula told me that babies need love. And so the old school way of put the baby down, don't touch the baby, it's a little outdated. So I hold my baby all the time. Can my baby take naps independently? Yes, he can. If your baby can't take naps independently, they want to lay on your chest all day, you know, that's okay. Until you figure out how to get the baby to lay down by themselves, it's okay, So I take the pressure off of that. We were doing skin to skin all the time. My husband was doing the skin to skin. He loved doing skin to skin. And a baby, he's looking for milk, so he trying to latch to my husband. He thought it was so funny. That's not funny. Give my baby. Let him latch to me. So, just do what is right for you. And with me, I do have anxiety too. So this whole time I'm in therapy. I have a therapist. She's great. And trying to manage my anxiety, right? Because when people tell me I'm doing something wrong, or when people say I should be doing something, that to me means I'm doing something wrong. So I internalize that as a mom that I'm doing something wrong. Very natural. I'm very worried about SIDS. Okay, I'm very worried about just my baby randomly not breathing and dying, that's normal too. We have the baby monitor. I check in on him. I really didn't want him to go in his own crib, but I really do like the freedom to be able to do this video while he's sleeping. I get to kind of do things for myself. And he's doing great in his crib. So it's just whatever works for you. Whether breastfeeding works for you, whether pumping works for you, whether formula works for you, whatever it is for your family, that's what you need to do. Ask for help. You are doing a great job. Ask for help if you need to. And just do what you believe is right for your little person. So as we close, I know this has been a really long video. I do apologize because I talk a lot. I'm so sorry. But I know that some people will listen to it. I wanted to share with you a picture of my boo-boo. And it's plenty on my Instagram, so you can see it there. But look at my boo-boo. He's so cute. He's so handsome. And my handsome. We call him Trey because he's a third. He's named after my husband. And we also call him Tink Tink. He smiles at everything, especially my singing. So I'm so excited of what the future may bring. I'll probably do some more videos just because I'm excited about baby development. Like really, if I had to do social work all over again, I would probably be a perinatal social worker. I love babies. I love pregnant people. Now that I've been pregnant, I might not love pregnant people, but I love pregnancy. I love the whole journey. So this is my story. It had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of lows, a lot of highs, but all in all, the Lord is good. We have a healthy baby. Trying to think about having another one is anxiety provoking, to say the least, with someone with an incompetent cervix. And then once we try again, I'll be 35. So, or maybe even 36. So it's going to be that part too. That part. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was very long, so it's okay if you didn't watch the whole thing. But if you have any questions about incompetent cervix, about cerclage, about IUI, hit me up. You can email me at info@advancedsocialworksolutions.com. There's my logo in the back. You see how to spell it. I'm back. I'm ready to do my live classes again. So if you are a social worker trying to pass your licensure, I'm here for you. If you just are watching this video and you know any social workers that are trying to pass their licensure, I am a licensure prep coach for the exam, and the exam is national. So no matter what state you're in, refer them to me. My website is advancedsocialworksolutions.com. Subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll see you in the next email. Thanks. Bye-bye.